Hello and welcome to the ninth episode of Let's Grill John. Let's grill John on how he is first. How are you, John?
Yeah, I'm all right actually. It's a Monday morning, but often these are viewed negatively. But when the opportunity to learn about chess is there, what's to be upset about?
I enjoyed your latest piece on why do we deserve, or what about football and how why do we need
Mm.
football, or why do we deserve football, or why do we
Mm.
desire football? It's a good piece if you want to go and if you have a philosophical bent to your brainy over, and I enjoyed it. It's a good way
Thanks.
of spending my Monday morning in bed, just reading John's philosophical musings. Um, so today we're going to have a look at a game played by one of the actually very few titled black players. It's just a thing. I think there's only three black grandmasters in the world. From maybe it's not certainly single figures. But what we're going to look at today is a game by Emory Tate, who was an American international master, who died 5 years ago, but left behind an entire legacy of complete batshit games where he just absolutely goes for it. And he was a tactician, tactical master, and yeah, this game is a bit quieter than is normal, but I think presents an opportunity to actually have some learning points rather than just trying to guess the craziest move as we've had a couple of times in this series. So here we go. Right. So Tate was black in this game in the NATO Championship because he was in the Air Force. Um, so he played in this. So okay, we have a Sicilian, and the Sicilian is going to be an opening that is widely used by people who enjoy a good attack. Why might that be? Why might the Sicilian be a good option if you're an attacking player? Why do your attacking players play the Sicilian?
Is it just because it opens up interesting files?
Yeah, it's just a bit different. It presents this automatic dynamism as a result of having pawns on different. I mean, if you just go e5 straight away, you just likely get very symmetrical kind of pawn structures.
Mm.
Whereas having c5, yeah, it just means that you haven't made any decisions with these pawns yet, and you just get flexibility to attack on either flank really, depending on what white does. White played f4, which is a very attacking thing, and I imagine Tate was licking his lips at this point already, thinking, okay, right, I've got a tactical battle, and yeah, he's gonna probably do quite well in it. Bishop e5, g6. So yeah, this is the main thrust of Tate's opening repertoire was playing these dragon-style systems where the bishop operates all the way down this diagonal. Bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop, and knight f3. Knight f6, everything just comes out. Knight c3, bishop g7, castles, and castles. So taking towards the centre there meant that these two pawns are doing really good jobs looking at the squares on the d-file. And yeah, this bishop might want to come out this way. So this is already, I mean, it's fine for white after the move d3, which keeps all these pawns on the light squares and therefore blunts this guy a little bit. So this is what you want when you've got two knights and a bishop against two bishops and a knight. You want to keep the position as closed as possible, I suppose. And while all the pawns are on the board, that is definitely going to be the case. d6. And then, yeah, a strange move here. Bishop d2 doesn't really make much sense. Why might bishop d2? Well, I mean, bishop d2 just looks weird to me. I don't know if it does to you, John.
Yeah, I guess with the pawn structure facing the way that it is, you want to be tacking down the king side, and that looks like a move that's sort of um, more loaded towards the queen side to me. But
I don't think it's necessarily loaded towards the queen side. It's just more that it doesn't really do anything in this regard. In this, you've got this pawn chain. Absolutely, you should be trying to use it and trying to. I think white really should be trying to get the move f5 in at some point to
mm,
extend the pawn chain and then make this bishop a better piece. What I mean, what job is the bishop doing at the moment?
defending the b2 pawn.
Yeah, and this is an issue. The bishop's just completely in the way. It's abandoned its post, looking at the b2 pawn. It's in the way. I mean, ideally, I think that, the bishop is not much better on e3 than it is on d2 in this position, simply because of this reason. But at least this way, you get the chance to play queen d2 and shove it in behind potentially. But on d2, it's just completely in the way. Also, another way for white to do things potentially here is to get f5 in. F5 in is to put this knight somewhere, and normally that knight will go to d2 with the idea of then coming into c4. So the bishop is just completely in the way here. And yeah, this is your first opportunity, John, to try to find a way for black to... Remember, black's got the bishop pair, so black wants to exchange pawns, black wants to do attacking, black wants the position to open up. So I would like a plan and a move here from you, please.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but I'm wearing shorts at the moment, and it's the first time it's happened in several years. My legs have been
really?
seen. Yeah. I'm not a shorts man. But
Is it warm down south?
It's warm down south.
It's very much overcast here.
It's a bit overcast, but it's still humid. It's the first time I've got my legs out for a stream. What do we think?
So you think that a pawn move would be useful here, just breaking down that pawn chain?
Okay.
So you could push the d pawn.
Okay, so let's have a look at d5. So d5 doesn't actually, it's not a pawn break as such, because pawn breaks really you want to be forcing, you want to ensure that the pawn has to be exchanged. So after d5, white can just play e5, and then suddenly your dragon bishop is completely blunted. And not only that, but this is attacked, and I think that black is just very, very cramped now, and white has achieved quite a lot here in this stretch. So we don't want to play d5.
Well, in terms of other potential pawn moves, there's not really much on, but I guess you could push the c pawn.
Okay, so what's the idea of c4 then?
I guess it sort of breaks up the pawn chain and opens up that file.
Okay, so what happens if pawn takes pawn?
You're just giving up a pawn?
No, we're not. What have you just done? Remember, the pawns were here and here, so which lines have you opened as a result?
So you can now move your bishop out onto that diagonal.
Yeah, but that hasn't... Well, yeah, but this isn't really the one that's opened up. Because the pawn is still there. So which pawns were here and here? Which lines have opened up?
With the d file?
D file for white, but we're looking for the ones for black, right?
The diagonal from a7 to the key.
Absolutely. So what can you play?
Queen b6.
So king moves, and then
you can take that pawn. That's
yeah, here we go. And look at the pawn structure. Just compare the pawn structure to before you played c4. White's completely together, and now not only have you you've got your pawn back, but these guys are absolutely awful and yeah, very, very weak, and black is doing very well here. So yeah, c4 is the move. It undoubles the pawns, because if white plays d4, well, it doesn't undouble the pawns, I suppose, because white can play d4, but the point is that now this pawn is doing really good things. It's sitting on a very nice square that's inhibiting white's queen side, which is the way we're going to want to go, owing to these chains. And yeah, I think you just play rook b8 here and start to load the gun on the open file. So you just gained a bit of space as a result. If white plays d4, which they did not, played rook b1 instead, and black just took the opportunity to shorten that pawn chain and also make this into a weakness. while also, yeah, the pawn's disappeared off the board. That is going to be good for the bishop pair, and black played bishop to a6 to attack it. Knight e1. I mean, if white's having to play these kind of moves, they're not doing very well, basically. I suggest going backwards in a way that's only defensive is not really going to make sense. Okay, what now?
Well, I guess you could take the pawn on e4 with your knight.
Could we?
And then, no, maybe not. I was thinking you could then take the rook, but then, yeah.
I think the knight gets you instead, mate.
Yeah. There's nothing to stop you from attacking the king, I guess, with the queen here as well.
Okay, so
not that it's going to achieve much, but
okay, so yeah, let's think about achieving things. Let's think about continuing down the same lines of doing our best to make the most of these guys and really go on the attack, go on the offensive, because white's pieces are all a bit stodged up.
I'm going to get the knight out, but I can't really see anywhere to really go with it.
So let's just think where you'd want, what's the square you'd want that knight on right now, if you could. Just plonk it anywhere on the board. Where would you put it? I think that's the way to think about these things.
D4.
Okay, so D4 is going to take a long time. D4 is going to take 4 moves, so let's abandon that idea. That would be lovely, but we can be a bit quicker and find a square that's not quite as good, but is still very decent.
I'm guessing C5.
Lovely. Okay, so can we do that?
Yeah, D7.
Yeah, so knight D7 would be perfectly good way of doing things. Black chose to play D5 first to gain a bit of space, and then after E5 the knight came back. Now I know that we talked about this before, that the difference is between this position and the one where you tried to play D5 before. The difference here is that when the knight comes back, it doesn't have the C5 square because the pawn's in the way at the moment. So this is your difference here, and also it wouldn't really be doing much on C5 because this pawn is protected. So the difference here is that now black definitely has this square to use. But yeah, as I said, D5 was preferred first. I think I actually prefer knight D7 immediately, but that's not what Tate played. Anyway, so knight D7, and then rook F3. So white is going on
loading up on the D3 square,
and also potentially chucking this over to have an attack of their own, but I don't think it's gonna. I mean, it's just the complete lack of coordination. All of these pieces are they're not working for each other at all. This bishop's just completely in the way. If you swap these bishops, for example, I think white would probably be doing absolutely fine. But yeah, this is not gone well. Black played e6 just to solidify everything, and d4 happened. So we've now got really a French style pawn structure with these guys like this. But the main thing we're interested in here is, yeah, the pawn chain here that's informing directionality, and also, yeah, white's got this nice little bind, but black, as in the French, has plenty of opportunities to break this up. So really, I'm going to give you the choice here. You can either play c5 or you can play f6. And I'd like to know why and which one you're choosing and why. Because we're going to have to play one of those moves to start breaking up those pawns on the dark squares.
I'm tending towards the C pawn just because it feels like the F file it's already got the rook on it, so you don't want to be opening that up for them.
Okay.
And then also, yeah, there's the bishop is being blocked in by that pawn as well on F4.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, you think this pawn is completely in the way, so it's in the way of these
Yeah,
two.
exactly.
Okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Okay.
It's probably a bad way of looking at it.
Well, no, I think that's it's definitely relevant, and it's definitely something that I mean, judging these positions when you how you're expansive and where you're expansive, this is always going to be a thing. Absolutely, that's a really good way of looking at it. That you want to limit your opponent's pieces. However, I would suggest that when you have the bishop pair, you should be a bit less concerned about opening things up, because your opponent doesn't want things to be opened up, even for their own pieces necessarily, because it means that you can oppose them. If you have the bishop pair and you're worried about their bishop, if things got hairy, you can always swap it off for yours, because you've got that. You're always going to have that, right? I'd say that when you have the bishop pair, you should be okay. Obviously, don't like open up everything towards your king, but I think you can afford, when you have the bishop pair, to be a bit more expansive and be a bit more selfish and think about your own pieces. And here, these two are the ones that are struggling the most for activity. So I think, therefore, we play f6, just to give them a bit more space. Because at the moment, if you play c5, it's not really helping either of them. And these guys don't need much help, to be honest with you. They're on good squares. They can come to good files anyway. So it's these two that are the issue here. So I think that's why we play f6. But I completely sympathise with the view that you might not want to develop these. However, yeah, that's one of the quirks of having, one of the good things about having the bishop pair is that you can afford to be a bit more selfish and not worry so much about opening lines for your opponent's pieces. Anyway, white played knight a4. It's taking the knight away from the centre, which is probably not the best thing. It's not really going to jump into c5 because it would, I think, just get eaten, and then this pawn would be distracted from its job of looking at e5. Pawn takes. Pawn takes. And yeah, absolutely, these guys are now a bit better, but so are yours. And not just that, but you've also given your queen some potential to come. And the fourth, remember where the pawns were? They were here and here, so the f-file is opened up for you. And the fourth rank has opened up for you, and that's what's happening here. Bishop b4. And then here is where the fireworks start, and this is where Mr. Tate shows his parades his devilry, as we should say, in this tactical arena. So, I would like a plan and a move here, please.
Well, your rook's under attack, I suppose, from the bishop, so you're going to have to sort out that problem. You could just swap off the rooks.
Okay.
But then I guess you'll take back with the knight, and then your queen is under pressure. But
yeah, and it also, the knight would defend this d4 pawn as well.
Yeah. So I guess to ameliorate that, you're going to have to do something similarly threatening.
Good.
I suppose you could just move the rook to attack the bishop that's attacking it.
To b8, I think then the bishop just lands on this lovely outpost here, and then you've got some problems. I don't think you've solved anything. So go through your A, B, C, D, E. Avoid, block, counterattack, defend, eat. Which of those are possibilities here?
Avoiding is a possibility.
Avoiding is a possibility, but you're not going to gain any tempo with that.
I can't see any way of blocking.
Nope.
Counter attack. I guess I could drop the rook on f4.
Okay, let's have a look at this move. So rook f4 is an interesting try. I think the problem you've got is this. And then this is a fork. And you've got some problems here. I think you can, basically you can escape with the pin. But then I think white is just making progress and you're not. So we will avoid rook f4. How else can we counter attack? Yeah, think about. I mean, your rook's being attacked at the moment, so we really need a big attack to circumvent it and to supersede it.
Yeah, I can't really see any way of getting to the queen. That's the problem.
No?
Well, apart from attacking it with my queen, but then I can't defend the queen, so... Maybe I'm just being slow.
It's a very simple way of attacking the queen.
Just what with the bishop?
Okay, so what's the point? What's the idea here?
You're forcing the opponent to move.
Okay, so if queen takes e2, what job is the queen no longer doing that it was doing on d1?
And then you're going to take the bishop back.
With?
The queen.
Yeah, so you do take this pawn first. We've got this fork. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so this is a way of winning a pawn, in theory. If the queen goes to d2... incidentally, there was actually a better move here. It's even more clear-cut, which is bishop takes e5, with the same thing, that the queen, in theory, pins the pawn. And if bishop takes rook... Whoops, oh, that's not bishop takes rook. This is bishop takes rook, and then it's mate in 3, with here and here. So yeah, this is a big problem. So bishop takes e5 would have been even better, but the move bishop e2 was chosen by Tate, which I think is it's a bit more complicated, but that's fine. I mean, Tate loved it. So anyway, queen d2, and then keep going. Bishop h6. All of this stuff now works. These pieces are just surrounding the white queen, white king, and yeah, this is sort of bishop pair play at its best. Queen c3. It's getting a bit desperate. And then you've got a choice here. Would you like to take the rook with the rook or the bishop? Which one would you like?
I guess if you take with the rook, you're putting the queen under pressure. But not that makes a huge amount of difference. You're presumably going to take back with the rook, with the knight. Well, I'm going to say the rook because that's counterintuitive, so that's probably the right answer.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually that counterintuitive because this is still existing, right? So if bishop takes rook, then this bishop can take this rook. Yeah. And actually, you haven't really gained anything here. Black's still doing very well, but yeah, it doesn't really make any sense to do that. So if you take the rook instead, not just that, but you're maintaining. Let's have a look. So knight takes f3, bishop takes f3, and then the point is that queen can't take it because you've still got this problem, and you just lose a piece.
Mm.
So yeah, rook takes first avoids the bishop taking the rook. So instead here, yeah, so knight takes f3, bishop takes f3, and then pawn has to take. And suddenly this is close to over. We haven't got the bishop pair anymore, but what we do have is an exposed king, and that is plenty. Bishop f4, with all sorts of ideas. Queen takes c6. Right, I would like you to finish this off. So, what is black's most direct way to make things happen? Because at the moment you've got some things to think about. This queen has come into the position. We can't just fanny around. We need to get on with it.
You want to force the king into the corner, I guess.
Right?
So I would move the bishop to e3.
Okay, bishop e3, king h1. Now what?
Hmm. Hmm.
So you've trapped the king. Well, you haven't quite trapped the king yet, but you need to threaten some things. So how can you... Where would the mate be, in theory?
On h2.
No.
On
You've done the job of trapping the king.
g2.
No, you've done the job of trapping the king. So where would your queen need to be for it to be mate?
e3.
You don't mean e3, do you mean
f3.
f3? Right, okay.
Sorry.
So let's try and get it here and also limit white's options while we do it.
I'm just worried about getting in check.
Okay, let's work. Then we'll calculate this. So what happens is that has the king got safe haven if either of these pieces drop?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Which square?
Um,
If queen takes pawn, where would you be immune from check?
I mean h8.
Good. And if queen takes rook, where would you be immune from check?
You could just chuck your knight in on f.
No, that would be mate. You've got this problem.
Oh yeah. G7.
Yeah, g7 would be a safe square. So we've got a tempo in hand here to use to try to...
So you could just put either the queen on f4 or f2. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at f2. So the problem you've got here
Is that you don't have to
is
defend. You're not defending f6 anymore.
well, it's not the f6 square, that's fine. It's that the queen can come back to g4 and everything is actually protected now, and white's doing well. So there's a slightly better square that deals with this in the first place that we can still look at f3 from.
So if you go to f4 then?
That's if you go to f4, then the queen takes pawn and it's going to be able to come back. So where can we go that would stop this move entirely?
H. Oh, no. G5.
That wouldn't stop
No.
queen. That wouldn't stop queen takes e6. Stop that move as well.
Oh, H3.
Yeah. So h3 stops the rook coming here to defend it. It stops the queen coming here. It stops the king coming up. And yeah, white actually resigned here because it's not quite hopeless. If queen takes a8, then it is hopeless because the king can just go to g7 or f7. Probably f7 is slightly better because it avoids any desperado checks. And then yeah, there's no good way for white to avoid the mate here because the only way is queen takes d5. What have you seen?
Oh no, of course, yeah. Do knights protecting f7, f8. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the issue. So that's what happens with queen. The only real move is queen c2, but then something just like, I mean, black can just go on a hoovering mission now and just hoover up all these pawns, and it's not going to be much fun. This one's going to drop as well, probably this guy. So white resigned in this position, despite being able to take 2 pieces, including one with check. So this is just really, an illustration of how in the Sicilian you've got these options, and particularly look out for ways of when you've got the bishop pair to. It's often worth a pawn, even if this pawn was taken for free. It's often worth it just to absolutely open up some lines and start the journey towards being an attacking player, and all of this stuff kind of works. Are you still playing the Sicilian?
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully this was. I did think that, so that's why we had a look at this game. But how was that?
Yeah, no, it was good. It's slightly different because I usually if I play the Sicilian, I go through the opponent will play through the book moves. So it's quite nice seeing like something slightly different.
Yeah, and yeah. So we were recording tomorrow, and we'll be out later in the week. And that's it, because Chris is not doing any kind of person this week. He's doing an event, so there was no person to investigate on this stream this week. But hopefully this has been alright, and yeah, just marking things that are happening in the world right now. And yeah, Mr. Tate was a decent tactical player. Alright, thank you very much, John, and we'll be back next week, I'm sure, with another one of these. And thank you guys for watching. See ya.